I think I should briefly try to respond to the attempt by Ranking Member Ruiz to discredit my testimony by saying a number of untrue things about the book I wrote 10 years ago on the biology of race.
The racism that witness displayed in his books and at other times throughout his life is exactly why he was the chosen witness.
This was a determinedly non-racist book. It has no scientific errors that I'm aware of. It has no racist statements, and it stresses the theme of unity, that we are all variations on the same human genome. My book was vigorously attacked by obscurantist academics who want everyone else to believe that there is no biological basis to race.
They went and got a racist who believed that I am lesser than him because he is white and I am black. And he had the gall to still argue that it wasn't racist. We can continue to play the, oh my God, I'm surprised game when Republicans don't stand up to these type of people. Or we can actually come to the grips with the fact that Republicans are these types of people.
Quote, "It has nothing to do with skin color. I was arguing that those cultures overall are inferior to Western culture. We are not inferior to any culture," speaking as a descendant of one of those cultures.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like a parliamentary inquiry into taking down the gentlelady's words, the ranking member's words, for insinuating that our witness made white supremacist statements using his words.
If all your friends and you stand in front of a proverbial Confederate flag and scream that we want to make America great again, and by great again, you mean when this country only worked for white folk, then I mean you're a racist or a Republican.
Will my Republican colleagues condemn white supremacy and work with us to ensure this committee engages in advancing good and reducing harm rather than perpetuating it?
How is it that mainstream media is not talking about this? How come they are not referring to the tactics and this level of dog whistling on a daily basis from the Republican Party, the racist party of Ronald Reagan, as the evolution of the Southern strategy? How aren't we talking about how one of the major parties in this country is radicalizing white people, mostly white men, to carry out acts of violence against Black people and other folk who don't think and see the world like them? How are we allowing Republicans and mainstream media, mainly Fox and some other smaller agencies, to radicalize political violence? If this was happening in China, we would be so-called outraged. If this was happening somewhere in Central South America, we will be outraged, because democracy doesn't show up this way, unless, of course, it's America's democracy. I mean, and think about this. It's all based on this idea that white supremacy is a real thing, or that white people are superior because they're from Europe. But dig this. They're so busy trying to convince us that America is their origin story. They're so quick to tell people to go back home. Like we forgot that they immigrated over here and stole everything from people of a darker hue. Do they think we don't know this? No, it's not that they don't think you know this. They don't care. They exert their supremacy because elected officials, institutions, this country makes it easy for white people to believe that they are superior to the rest of us. And we do too, when we don't call them on this BS. So the fact that 26 Republicans on the House Oversight Committee did not sign on a letter denouncing white supremacy, it isn't surprising. No, it's because they know their audience. They know their base. And whether you are a racist from North Carolina, California, or Georgia, you want your representative showing up as a racist. And it's very much what we got. It's also that damn simple. Before we even get to Representative Cheryl, and trust me, we're gonna get to him, can we have the conversation about the death penalty? Those folk who support the death penalty would try to convince us all that it is the only way that family members of murder victims can get justice. They would have us believe that through the death penalty, citizens will be deterred from crime, furthering their argument by feeding us that society is protected when we exact the death penalty, and it preserves, listen to this, it preserves moral order. Can I just say, as a man, a black man that has lost a sibling to a violent murder, that none of these arguments are real. None of them. If, as a family member of a murder victim, we tied our idea of justice to the death penalty, we would never be whole. For we know the system is flawed at picking who and when a person receives this archaic type of punishment. If you kill a white person in America, you are more likely to get the death penalty, especially if you as a defendant are a black person. Not to mention the sheer number of times that the wrong person is convicted for murder. On average, in this country, since 1973, nearly 4 people a year are exonerated while waiting to be killed. 4 people a year. The idea of killing one innocent person is too much, let alone 4 every year. The crime rate is not lowered because folk are threatened with the death penalty. So using the determined argument is simply a lie and needs no rebuttal, which also puts to bed the idea that society is protected, which leaves us with the moral order argument. And also back to this video. When we are made to face the factual existence in which we encounter the hard truths, things manifest in ways that are unintended. And that was the case here.
Thank you, Representative Powers, for bringing this. I think it's a very good idea. And I was just wondering about, could I put an amendment on that? It would include hanging by a tree also.
See, for Cheryl, the moral order isn't that white Americans should be forced to celebrate Black History Month. As we saw him earlier this year, in February, propose a bill to change a street name from John Lewis to Donald Trump. Donald Trump, a person who has no significant ties to the state of Tennessee, versus John Lewis, who went to college in the city of Nashville and was one of the students who took part in the city sit-in, making Nashville the first major southern city to desegregate lunch counters. And then there's this. On the last day of Black History Month, Representative Cheryl, a member of the Republican leadership in Tennessee State House, suggests that hanging, not just any hanging, but hanging from a tree branch, be added to state law.
Could I put an amendment on that? It would include hanging by a tree also. And also, I would like to sign on to your bill, sir.
And this is because his idea of moral order, meaning his idea of what is proper to do or reasonable to expect, is just that. To see this country made great again by having Black bodies swinging from oak trees in the South. But the true question is not about what will happen to Representative Cheryl, but instead, how will America respond? Because looking back at who was lynched and why, we know that historically, this country shared the same moral order as this racist representative.